If you've been committed to doing the work and something still isn't shifting, this video will explain why. Because most people don't experience a motivation problem and they don't have a discipline problem. I know, I'll get there, just wait. And they don't need more insight. They're dealing with patterns that are organized at the level of their identity. And until that shifts, the same outcomes will keep repeating and sometimes in different forms. If you've ever noticed that you can understand the pattern, you can even see where it's coming from, and you know what you should do, and still you find yourself reacting the same way before you can catch yourself, this is why. Awareness doesn't dissolve the lens that's creating the pattern. It just lets you see it more clearly. And that's where a lot of people get stuck and begin to judge themselves because they keep trying to solve something at the level of behavior that's actually being generated at the level of identity. My name's Penny Chiasson. I'm a former nurse anesthetist, a board-certified hypnotist, and the creator of the Identity Matrix Method. And my work sits at the intersection of identity, neuroscience, and consciousness. I'm not here to give you more tools on this channel. I mean, honestly, between AI companions, do-it-yourself courses, and mindset checklists, you're all tooled out. I'm here to help you to understand how change actually happens, because once you understand that, everything starts to make sense. Why certain patterns repeat, why the progress doesn't always stick, and why you can feel like you're doing everything right, and yet you're still not getting the result that you expect. This is the work that I do in two ways. The first is with high-performing individuals. These amazing souls have already invested in personal development, coaching, they have therapists on retainer, and they can feel that something deeper needs to shift despite all of that work. These are people who are successful on the outside, but on the inside, they still experience that subtle internal misalignment. And it will show up in patterns of second guessing decisions, over functioning, over committing, people pleasing, or experiencing an emotional reaction that they know doesn't match who they are. It could even be that they've done so much work that they've had this experience of living in a very expansive state, but felt themselves pull back and can't seem to get back there. And they don't know why. And they really enjoyed being in that place. They don't need more strategy, and they sure don't need more self-care or motivation routines. What they need is that internal identity to be recalibrated. Now, the second way is I work with those who are feeling called to do work that has a deeper impact. I'm talking about coaches, therapists, teachers, corporate professionals, leaders, real estate brokers, and even commercial airline pilots. These are people who are already helping others in their own field. Maybe they're the go-to for advice, or they have clients, and they're starting to notice a limit on the difference they're making in the world. They are feeling that pull to do something that matters. And because they've been that go-to for clients, colleagues, and friends, they've seen these patterns play out and watched people circle the same problem. Even after they got insight, that insight might have gotten the person clarity, but it didn't fully resolve the problem. And at some point, it becomes clear that insight isn't enough and that something deeper is required. Now, this is usually the moment where the question shifts from, is this just the way things are meant to be in life, to, wow, is it possible that I really can help people shift at this deeper level? Because what's missing most of the time isn't effort or strategies, it's a process. And most approaches focus on behavior, which is nothing more than a symptom. Think of a fever, They're focused on mindset, which is important. The stories we tell ourselves, we speak our lives into existence, but that is still at the conscious or cognitive level. Or they'll focus solely on emotional processing, which, yes, helps us to feel better, but it doesn't shift the lens. Here's what they miss: patterns repeat because identity organizes perception, meaning if that underlying identity hasn't shifted, the mind will continue to recreate the same experience even when everything else changes. And that's what causes people to get so frustrated. That's why this work is different. We're not working on the surface, and we're not just laying down competing neural pathways. If you want to do that, you can find plenty of YouTube channels that have hypnosis audios you can listen to all day long. Here, we're working at the level where the pattern is actually created. And whether you're here because you want to create that level of change for yourself, or you want to be able to create that level of change for others, you're in the right place. On this channel, I'm going to break down how subconscious patterns actually work, why change doesn't always hold, what's happening in the mind during transformation, and how to work with it safely and effectively. So you're not guessing. In my world, the mind is sacred ground. When someone entrusts me with their mind, I am very humbled, and I take that very seriously. And I tend to attract people into my world who have that same level of resonance and integrity about the work that they want to do. So you're not relying on short-term surface level solutions. So if this is the kind of work that you're interested in knowing more about, subscribe, because this is where we go deeper, not just into understanding the mind, but into actually understanding how to change what's happening underneath it. And if you're already to the point that, I don't just want to know more about this work, I want to experience it or apply it in what I'm doing, I'll leave two options for you below this video. One is my private client container. The other is my training for people who want to be fully certified in understanding process and identity. Both are designed for depth, not surface level change. Either way, you're exactly where you need to be to start seeing this differently.